Hello and welcome to Illo Talk. I am Cory Kerr and this is day 26 of 30 stickers. Sticker Stint. Sticker Stint! Hashtag Sticker Stint. So this is 26 of 30. I have 4 more to do after this, but today I want to talk about another thing that I think keeps people from making art or creating or doing stuff, and it's being exceptionally critical of others. Okay, so first off, you might be asking what other people have to do with your work ethic or your creativity. And they actually don't have much to do with it. It's all about you. It's all about how I feel and act and think and speak within myself. And other people just kind of are there, right? And so we can say that, you know, this person did X or whatever, but that is actually moving responsibility on other people. So first, let me read something about critics from good old Teddy. Theodore Roosevelt, and you've probably heard this quote, but it's applicable, and so I'm going to read this quote. "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms and, lost my place, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end of triumph and high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who never knew victory nor defeat." So Teddy here is intimating something that I find kind of interesting, and I find it very, very true. He seems to be saying that those that are critical of people, those in the stands that are saying, "Oh, your anatomy is wrong," or "this sucks," or "Oh, there's too much exposition," or whatever, like the people that are off in the sidelines that are throwing criticisms at those people that are making something, don't actually make anything. The closing line of this is, if he fails, he being the person in the arena, his face marred with blood and sweat, who is trying to do something, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. And earlier he says, it's not the critic who counts, the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, right? So we have 2 different groups of people in this quote. And one group is the people who are pointing out how someone else is doing something wrong, or how they failed, or how whatever, right? The other group are the people who are trying and occasionally erring, falling short, falling down, tripping, doing whatever, right? And so anyway, I find that those that are exceptionally critical of people don't ever make anything themselves. And I wonder why this is. But I think about this, right? Our self-talk, the voices inside our head, and I'm not talking about like crazy voices or whatever, but the thoughts that we have when we go through our life and go through our day, the type of things that we think as we are experiencing the world, those things flavor or give us different perceptions or opinions on how to experience the world. And if I have spent a significant amount of my time, or even some of my time, whenever I see somebody try something new, whenever I see somebody start a webcomic or draw something or do an animation or write a book or whatever, and my instinct is to go out and just trash it and just shred it, right? Then that's in my mind as a likely or possible result of doing art, right? Is that somebody else might feel the same way that I feel about other people's work. And I think that is terrifying. And I think that if I were to spend my time saying, "Oh, this is garbage, this is horrible, I hate it," and I go out of my way to tear other people down, that's in my mind, that's in there, so that when I think, maybe I should write a book. Maybe I should write a novel. Maybe I should do this, or maybe I should do that. The immediate next thought has got to be, it's going to be awful. Or at the very least, be like, oh, I don't know, there's a lot of critics out there. Because that's what I'm familiar with. I'm familiar with the criticism. I also wonder if, and I know that there are some people that are exceptionally good at things, that are very critical of those that are starting out. And I think that's a different problem. I'm not talking about that right now. I'll talk about that later. But what I'm talking about is those that never do anything, that are exceptionally critical of those that are starting or even have been doing it for a while and they feel like they're not very good or whatever. I think it actually comes from a place of fear. I think it comes from a place where you see someone doing something extra, making an effort, and somehow that reflects on you. That reflects on, whatever. It's like when somebody decides, so you've been hanging out with a group of people, and then one of them decides, man, this is BS. I'm getting out of this crap. I'm fat and out of shape, and I'm going to go do whatever, right? All of a sudden, your sphere of influence has been altered, right? Now one of your friends is working out and eating well and swimming every day and running and doing all this stuff, and they start, fitting into their clothes a little bit better, and you are confronted. This is an existential idea, is that we interact with other people through the view of ourselves, right? We view others as they relate to us rather than as they are. And so we don't go out and say, that person there, independently of me, does X, right? We say that person there does more of X than I do, or less of X than I do, right? And so it's other people in relation to ourselves. And when somebody else points out by their actions that we are not living up to our full potential, it makes us feel uncomfortable. Because in relation to those people, we feel less than, because I spend my time poorly versus they spend their time creating or making or building or drawing or writing or whatever it is. They're doing something more than they're required to do just to get by, and they're becoming something that raises themselves up. And in comparison, we look at that and we say, well, that means that I'm less than them, that I'm lower than them. And so the result of that might be to say, well, if I criticize their work, or if I tear them down, if I knock them down a peg or two and tell them how their striving is stupid or whatever, then what you're doing in your mind is you're trying to bring them down so that in comparison you don't feel as bad about your own inaction, your own whatever. And I think this is also true of putting somebody up on a pedestal. Somebody gets up there and they say, hey, I'm doing X. I'm going to do 100 days of making comics or whatever. Every day I'm going to spend 30 minutes, whatever it is, right? And then people's response to that is sometimes, man, I don't know how you do that. You must be some sort of superhuman to be able to accomplish that. So far out of my league that it's beyond comparison, right? That is also a way to not compare yourself to others, right? Because if somebody who is just like you, if somebody is in the same circumstance and same situation as you, starts being better, then by comparison, you are not as good. And that's an uncomfortable place to be, and we don't like that. And so we do one of two things. We tear that person down, or we build them up so much that they're beyond comparison, and they're no longer like us. They're different than us. They're a little broader in the shoulder and slightly taller, and they were born with more intelligence and more drive and more motivation and more whatever, right? And so it's not fair to compare a fish to a monkey when it comes to climbing trees, and just like it's not fair to compare me not doing anything with my life to that guy over there who's doing something with his life, because obviously he's been given an extra measure of artistic talent or drive or whatever it is to be able to do that thing. And that's something that is beyond my control and his control. He's just different than I am, so beyond comparison. So anyway, I think that's kind of an interesting concept. Why we criticize. and why we deify. And I think we do both of those things to avoid comparison. And so, in all honesty, that is my main problem with internet trolls, the people that are just hurling insults, insects. I hope they don't hurl insects. That would be really weird. And I like insects. They don't deserve that. Don't throw insects at people. That's not a good way to go, right? But those that just drive by insult, on Twitter or whatever, your book sucks, you're an idiot, whatever. That type of thing is just like, you're only doing that to make yourself feel better, because you're not doing anything with your life. Or if you are doing something with your life, you're unhappy with the results of that thing or whatever it is, right? So this is just a call to say, stop comparing yourself to other people, right? Stop trying to measure your own worth or the worth of your work against the stick and measurement of others and against the measurement of what other people are doing, right? Do what you want to do. Be what you want to be and make what you want to make. And screw everybody else. Who cares what everybody else is doing? Unless you're able to look at that and be motivated by it. Okay? Because there's a third way to look at something when somebody does something and you can say, that guy's like me, or she's like I am, or they're in a similar situation than I am, or they're in a worse situation than I am. And if they can do it, I can do it. Because that's the other way to look at things, is you see that it can be done, it becomes possible, and then you can do it. And so I would choose that route. If they can do it, I can. Not in an insulting way to say that, well, that guy's an idiot, and if he can do it, anybody can do it, right? But to say, like, that guy is a person. He's a human being with a job and a family and a whatever and this and that and then whatever, and somehow he's able to accomplish all these things, which means it's possible, and if it's possible, then I can do it. So, there's that. Anyway, I drew this sticker of a protesting octopus. I've got 4 more, and I was going to sit down and plan out like what the next 5 would be, and I didn't get to that because there was this big party that happened to my house kind of last minute, and it was fun. It was a blast. I enjoyed it. So hanging out with people is cool. Anyway, that is that. You can catch my stuff at corykerr.com. And if you want to see more about what's going on at the Sticker Stint, go to corykerr.com/stickerstint, S-T-I-N-T, stint, as in a short period of time where an intense thing happens, like a stint in the army or a stint in jail or a stint creating a bunch of stickers in a short period of time. Not a stent, which is something where they stick that into your arteries and balloon it out to reduce a blockage. So.